Welcome to a brand new episode of SideQuest Podcast. Listen in and level up. It's the second Monday of the month, so that means we're going to get Coach's Corner. And I have a great Coach's Corner for you this week. Before we get into all of that, however, let's get through the house notes. If you're not following me on Twitter, check me out at SideQuest FM. Follow me on Instagram as well at SideQuest FM. You can also follow me on Snapchat, SideQuest Fit. Find me over there. Snap me your questions about comic books, video games, movies, fitness. Doesn't matter. Send me your questions and watch all the shenanigans I get into each and every day. Also, head over and like the Facebook page, SideQuest Fitness, up in the search bar on Facebook. You'll get updates on podcasts, articles that I publish, other places that I write, as well as all the shenanigans that I talk about, all the ridiculous things I talk about on social media each and every week. As I mentioned, it's Coach's Corner. Usually we're talking health and fitness or some aspect of that, but this time we're taking a break from all that. We're taking a break from it because Nick Sorrell and Tanner Baze and I are going to talk to you about the one thing that we are probably more passionate about than lifting weights. And I say probably because we use this tool when we're in the gym. We use this tool in the car when we're on road trips. We use this tool to get us pumped for a night out or when we're dancing or trying to talk to someone at a dance club. That's right, music. That's what we're talking about today on Coach's Corner. We love music. I have an eclectic taste of music on my workout mix, as does Tanner, as does Nick. And in this episode, we talk about everything from classic rock to pop to hip hop to rock and roll of today to blues to jazz to every single thing that you can think of. We talk about it. We do miss some. There are bands we missed that I thought about, after this was over with. But we talk about the bands and music that we love. This is recorded live, so there's a little bit of an echo. We were in Tanner's kitchen. We recorded this in Atlanta over the weekend of 4th of July. So yes, that means we were enjoying some imbibed drinks, if you will, and some cinnamon buns. So we were feeling good as we were talking about music, but I hope you guys enjoy this episode. If you enjoy it, leave a review up on iTunes. Head over to iTunes. You can also listen on SoundCloud. If you're listening at SoundCloud, leave a review there. Google Play Music, as well as Stitcher. So wherever you're listening, please leave a review. When you leave a review, it helps us move up the charts so more people can hear the awesome guests that I have on the show each and every week. I'm really pumped for this episode. I think you guys are going to like it. And if you enjoy it and want to hear us talk about music again, or you have a topic you want us to geek out on, hit me up at sidequestfitness@gmail.com. Send me any of your questions, comments, or concerns over there via email. All right, guys, let's get into it. Let's get into the show. We're going to talk about some music. I'm pumped. All right, guys, before we get in, I got to stop. I totally had something cool happen right before this episode went up, and I had to go back in and redo it. SideQuest Podcast has a brand new bomb-ass baller dope intro from my man, Petravita. You can find him on SoundCloud. I found this guy on Anchor. He is fantastic. He's that nerdcore hip-hop that I grew up loving. So check out Petravita dropping the official SideQuest Podcast intro. Get ready for some dope shit.
Step up and you gotta get it fitness. Host Rob at the moment and the quest is you gotta check it and wreck it. You're breaking personal records and with the help of the guests you won't be guessing on the lessons. That's a +5 fierce. Got a low-key bamf right here. You wanna meet him, there's no better way to greet him than to strike a boss pose. Take a look into the mirror.
Yeah, go ahead and hit rewind because that's dope as shit. So cool. All right, we're going to get into the show. It's time to talk about some music. Let's go crazy on this. We're going to go crazy on this episode. This is a second live episode ever. Hopefully the rest of the coaches show up for the next one. Yes. But I'm here in Atlanta recording this month's episode of Coach's Corner with Nick Sorrell.
Yeah.
Yes!
Yeah,
I got the last name right.
Yeah, you made it.
And the one and only Tanner Baze. What you heard starting out was none other than the amazing film Purple Rain. We lost Prince earlier this year. I wrote an article about it. Tanner wrote an article about it. Prince is hands down one of the best musicians, probably the best musician in the last 50 years. Beyond that, I'd have to say Robert Johnson might have been a little better, but we'll debate that. But tonight on Coach's Corner, we're live and we're going to talk music. Take a break from fitness, but music is something that fuels our workouts. It fuels our passion for life. It fuels so much. And we are three big music fans, so we're going to talk about music, how it's influenced our lives, and bands we enjoy in all different types of genres. Purple Rain will be playing in the background. I'll have Tanner turn it down just a bit more. But let's start off with some Prince. Let's talk about some Prince.
Let's talk about some Prince, man. Let's do this.
You know, the story goes that someone asked Eric Clapton, what's it like to be the best guitarist on earth? And he said, I don't know, ask Prince. But most people don't envision, like, they don't see Prince as a guitar player. Like,
right.
He's the act. He's the lead singer. You kind of forget that he's playing guitar, but his riffs
are outstanding. His riffs are utter, like, they take on a life of their own.
Yeah, they're unique. They're different. I mean, after his passing, they talked to the lead guitarist of ZZ Top, and
Billy Gibbons.
Yeah, and Billy was like, look, still to this day, the intro to Let's Go Crazy, like, I don't know how to play it. He was like, you have to feel it, and I'm not Prince, and I can't feel it. And I think there's something about Prince that, like, in the hits that you hear, they're poppy, but there's some music that he created that just, like, it's funk, it's rock, it's R&B, it's blues, like he transcended all sort of genres.
Well, I think that one thing that people, like, when people hear that quote about Prince from Clapton, one thing that they, like, that really screws with them, with, like, your mindset about that is they think that, like, hold on, Eric Clapton, whom we all know, like, he was a member of the Yardbirds, obviously Cream, like, it's fucking Clapton, like, we think that, like, Clapton is this world-class guitarist, like, of course he's going to know, like, he's going to be an amazing guitarist, like, how can he say that Prince is better? And the thing that is really important to realize about Prince and Prince's artistic style is the fact that, like, whatever guitar work or anything, because Prince wrote every instrumental piece to a lot of music that was produced by him.
But even he wrote songs and music for other people.
For other people, like Manic Monday, for the Bangles, and things like that.
Sinead O'Connor?
Right. But, like, the guitar piece, the solo, whatever it is, like, it was always supposed to add to the song. Yeah. It was always supposed to be a part of the greater narrative of the song, as opposed to just taking on a life of its own. Compared to, like, something you and I text about today, Sweet Child of Mine, like, I love some Slash. I love me some Slash. Slash's work in that song, he hated it. Yeah. But it takes over the song. Yeah. You listen to that song because you're like, I can't wait for fucking Slash to just shred.
Right, and that intro, it was a joke. Yeah. He was kidding around. He was screwing around, and Axl was like, no, let's keep it. And
and that's never how Prince operated. No. And never once, and even in Purple Rain, as we have it on in the background, we'll be able to see it. This evolution, his girls in the band, they write this song that winds up becoming Purple Rain, and it just fucking takes on a life of its own, and it's amazing, and it moves people, and that's how Prince worked.
Yeah, and I think that's something that music should do, is it should move you. We have some cinnamon buns baking in the oven right now to come out, but it should move you, like, and it's something that I think a lot of people don't see today with artists, that everything is so pop, it's so, systematic, this is how you do it. someone, and I don't remember where it is. I'll try and find it for the show notes. SideQuestFitness.com/music. And I'll see if I can find it. But someone wrote this article about how all of the pop music today follows the same sort of structure. The melodies are similar. It's all in like the key of C or the key of D. Like it's all this one key where everything just sort of sounds the same. But music should move you. You should feel something from it. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Nick, what's a song that sort of always moves you, whether it's you feel you want to cry, whether you want to dance, whether you want to celebrate. Like summer, we're recording this the weekend of 4th of July. Like there are some songs that are like, it feels like summer when you hear it. Fucking Carlos Santana, Smooth, like
yeah, absolutely.
50 years from now, and that will still be the song of summer for me. But so let's talk about that music that sort of moves us.
It kind of like changes from time to time. So like I feel like we all have certain songs that at certain times in our life they kind of like resonate real hard, and then we just listen to that song on fucking repeat and we drive into the ground. Blink 182 is one of those that I like, which is ironic because they just came out with an album, which I haven't listened to yet. I know you have. They're one of those bands that for whatever reason I can listen to and I can usually feel something. A Day to Remember is another one.
All right.
Lucas Graham has a song called 7 Years. Have you guys heard that?
I have not heard that.
Dude, that song is fucking awesome. I really like, what the fuck are they called? We Are Kings, is that what they're called? Have you guys heard of them?
We Are Kings? No.
Oh, okay. Well, there's like a few different bands right now that I'm feeling, but right now I kind of like, I think it's one of those things that changes a lot. A Day to Remember, Blink 182, those are usually pretty consistent. And then from there, it's usually like individual songs that like I'll listen to, and for whatever reason, that one song just hits real hard.
It's here.
Is there so all right? So what do you write to then? Is there a song that moves you to write when you're writing like?
So I can't listen to lyrics anymore. Like back in the day, I used to have to listen to like Wiz Khalifa. I don't know why, but like ghetto derogatory rap got me off.
All right, I got you.
But now, because Tanner took me on a date with them,
dude, what he is about to say is legitimately the only music I write to.
I'll
tell a story in a second, but go ahead.
It's
I know what you're talking about.
Explosions in the Sky.
Yep.
And the reason being, so I actually did a presentation about this recently to Humana. It's an insurance company. I was talking about how like it's crazy how like I don't know, like all of us, so we write, we're real into words and the emotions that you kind of drive home. I thought it was crazy, and I wasn't really sure about what to think about it whenever Tanner took me to see Explosions in the Sky, because they don't use lyrics, right?
Right.
So I was like, why the fuck wouldn't you use words, right? Like, you can get your point across. And it was interesting because, like, Tanner took me to this place. We got there early. There was a band on beforehand. I don't know what they were called, but they were just like Explosions in the Sky, like, just completely musical. No lyrics. They're just throwing up music, and it wasn't good. At least I didn't.
They weren't. They sucked.
Yeah, I didn't really.
I don't even remember them. Yeah.
I was really drunk, but I didn't enjoy it. Which probably speaks louder to the fact that I didn't enjoy it when I was drunk. But as soon as Explosion in the Sky came on, I thought it was crazy because like they're not using lyrics. They're just throwing these fucking sounds up into the air, hoping that these emotions fall.
Yeah.
Right? The other band was fine, but they couldn't do it. Is it interesting because Explosions in the Sky, for whatever reason, without using lyrics, just threw these fucking sounds up in the air, and the music starts building, you start feeling these emotions. So to them, I write to them because there's no lyrics to sidetrack me, but they still kind of inspire that emotion, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, no, it does. I've used, if you have not heard the new Explosions in the Sky album, it's really good, and I get that same feeling. I laid in an Epsom salt bath while listening to it, and I swear to God, dude, like I've not had a feeling like this since college when I was on some mushrooms and listening to, which I will tell you, music on weird psychedelic drugs can do some crazy things when it's like Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin. Like there's some there are parts of Eleanor Rigby I don't hear sober. Like you have to be fucked up to hear it. And it sounds weird, but I guess the Beatles were fucked up when they were doing it as well. But no, I was in that bath, and I felt this. I don't know how to describe it. Like I didn't need the words, but I felt the emotions that they wanted to get across. And I think that's something a lot of people forget. Like, you know, Pink Floyd had some lyrics, but they were very much like Explosions, not when they started, but as they developed and kicked their lead singer out.
Isn't that crazy? Because like you got to think like Explosions, Scott, Pink Floyd, whoever. Like whenever they're writing this song, in their head there's a really specific driving emotion, probably, right? Yeah. So there's a story behind.
There's a story, right?
And they have to hope that just through music, just through fucking hitting a guitar or, you know, hitting a drum or whatever, that they can replicate this emotion in you. And they have to hope that they can throw it up in the air and that you're going to receive it. And it's crazy that they're able to do that.
Yeah.
You know, like, I will never forget the day that I introduced the song Comfortably Numb to my, who is now 16-year-old brother. He was 14 at the time. Can you imagine being a 14-year-old and being experienced to Comfortably Numb? I was not. I didn't know. I knew who Pink Floyd was at the time. I didn't know the song Comfortably Numb at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember being in the car with him and just watching it, like, watching him in the passenger seat of my car, watching it just, like, literally shake his understanding of the world to, like, the very foundation. And it was the greatest thing in the world because that music was so powerful. Like, that music is just so powerful that it just shakes you to the very core.
So you speak of your brother in that aspect. What is the first sort of song that you remember, you know, when you were young, that really shook you to like, I can tell you what it is for me. Maybe it's and you're going to get it because we're both from the South. We're all three from the South, and we grew up on country music. But the one that really sort of shook me to the core lyrically and musically is so cheesy. But Garth Brooks' The Dance.
Okay.
Like, you know, like
with
you
his
have
daughter and stuff like that.
Well, it's like, you know, you have one. It's basically you have one life to live. Give your all. Like, if life is a dance, like this is the one dance you get. Like, dance your, you know.
You're thinking of Life's a Dance.
Yeah. When he talks about like taking his daughter out.
Oh no, not that. But like that's the sort of the first thing that really sort of moved me and made me realize that like, oh shit, like music can really, you know, sort of influence you in a, you know, inspirational way. So what was yours, Tanner?
So here's a funny thing. Like as far as like my musical development goes, in high school, I knew more music than a lot of people that I went to school with. I knew a lot more music than a lot of people I went to school with. Because my parents, like, were diverse, like, very diverse audiophiles. Like, by the way, guys, I know you're just listening, but these cinnamon rolls look bomb. So, like, my parents were diverse audiophiles. The very first concert I ever went to was Kid Rock.
Ooh,
okay.
I liked him, yeah.
Very first concert I ever went to. And I was in 7th grade at the time. It was awesome. That was probably the first time I'd ever experienced, like, that moment of like, live music or just music in general where you're, like, you lose all inhibition and you're just ready to fuck whoever up. Like, whoever walks in front of you at that moment.
Yeah. Hey, what are you feeling?
Like, to this day, Kid Rock is still on my Scoliosis playlist because of that. I didn't actually, like, I was well-versed in 80s music, 90s music, hair metal, everything, but I didn't actually really get into music and the deeper levels of music until college. And what really actually made that transition for me was Daft Punk.
All right.
Daft Punk, by far and away, is still one of my favorite bands in the world. Was, like, and I listened to them in high school. I listened to their Discovery album and a couple of others. But, like, in college, I would get really baked and we would drive around this really strange road, that Fulton Ranch Road in San Marcos, Texas. And it was just, like, this bonding experience with my friends where, like, we would just share these deep and dark secrets with each other, and we would hear this music that Daft Punk created, and it was like we would make music videos to it. Like my buddy Ryan and I, whom is still one of my best friends in the world, like, and if Ryan is listening to this, I need to call you back. I'm sorry. But like we would make music videos to it, and it was just like this deeply personal and religious experience, and just like so serious, but also so awesome. And it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced in the world before. And like that is actually what led to me like exploring the depths of Zeppelin or Pink Floyd, and then like getting really big. I spent like 2 years super into jam bands. So like I have Daft Punk to thank for all of that, actually.
All right. Nick, what was your sort of the band that sort of moved you or song? It could be just one song.
I don't know. It's one of those like, I guess it's like, you heard people ask like, so what was like the big turning point in your like business career when shit exploded? And you were like, I have no idea. It's kind of like that with music. Like I look back like what really got me into it. And I'm not really sure. There's a bunch of stuff that sticks out, like Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. I don't know what it was, but like when I was younger, like I think it was like 5th or 6th grade. It's like you shot music videos. Me and my friend Cody Pretty, who's now a really weird motherfucker, but but we used to shoot like these music videos that led me into like freshman year where I started getting into classic rock because my friend group was into it and I thought that's what I had to be into. But I found stuff that I really resonated, which led me to kind of like the harder stuff, so like A Day to Remember, stuff like that, Under Oath and stuff. And then I spent like a phase of really being into like derogatory rap, like hearing Lil Wayne talk about he hates women and love drugs and stuff like that. So there's not really like any specific song that like turned the corner. There's just a bunch of songs that kind of stick out.
They just sort of brought you all in one. I think when you look at it, for us growing up in sort of the 90s, like that's sort of how it is. Like I was watching last night, the CNN has this amazing documentary on the 80s.
Yeah, really.
Like executive produced by Tom Hanks. And there was a part about music, and you don't realize how, hip hop and rap at that point sort of really exploded. But Nirvana sort of came out of nowhere because hair metal, everything was overproduced, and they were the late 80s and then led into the early 90s. But all of that sort of built into its own, and I think that's sort of how music does for all of us, is that we are into something at some point, but then something else turns us here, and the next thing you know, you build and you build and you build, and you have this eclectic taste. Like my workout mix has some Kanye, it has has some Taylor Swift. It's got Rage Against the Machine. It's got Led Zeppelin.
As any
workout,
should.
right? It's got not Stone Temple Pilots. It's got a ton of great stuff. But I think that's sort of how it does. It just sort of builds over time. I think
too, we all go in cycles. If you think about it, so like we looked at the Roaring 50s as like it's the 50s. That's when people are just going to shit. Like everything is superficial. Hugh Hefner started Playboy then, and then you have the 60s that followed that, where people they more or less get back to their roots. They're centered. Well, I mean, dude, you're doing a lot of psychedelics. Like that's kind of what like
I guess in a way. I mean, I think musically in the 50s you're seeing a lot more what had become popular with, and much like rap in the 90s, it became popular in the African American culture, like Elvis was the first Eminem in his way. Like
we could talk about that for days.
Right, and then that sort of progresses, and then the British invasion comes in, and everyone starts experimenting.
Right.
There's more one-hit wonders in the 60s than I think any decade. Like everyone's sort of trying to figure out where music goes.
But I'm more or less talking about like culturally, and if you think about like the 80s, like you mentioned hair metal, then Nirvana. You talk about the 80s. The 80s was extremely superficial. Like
oh yeah,
the 80s was all about wearing just like vibrant colors, doing as much coke as possible,
making us sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Right, and then
awesome.
exactly, it totally sounds awesome. It sounds like I want to be a part of that. But then at the same time, I also want to be a part of Nirvana and Pearl Jam, because there's a part of me, as is I think most people, that loves and identifies with the tortured artist, and looks at like what Kurt Cobain was saying and what Eddie Vedder was saying and Scott Weiland and all of those guys, and just says like, I get it, dude. Like, we went too far. Consumer culture went too far. Like, this is the pain that not only are you feeling, but society is feeling, and you're the voice for that. And maybe for a lot of people, that's too far. But at the same time, it helps bring us back to the middle and recalibrate us, and that's really important. That's vastly important.
Which is, I think, and I want to go into rap and hip hop there. It's very interesting because you have that. When it came out in the late 70s, early 80s, it was very tame. And then you had some guys come out like Grandmaster Flash who were like, no, let me tell you about what's really happening in the world. And then you have, a whole plethora of guys who come out doing that, who change the game. Then fucking NWA comes out, bursts on the scene, and they give
completely change the game.
Completely change everything. But then you get into the 90s, and it's all commercialized again, and it's all like Juvenile and like, and even
after, because Juvenile, Lil Wayne, the Hot Boys, that took place after Tupac and Biggie like had their moments.
Right.
Had their moment of like truth. That's what we'll call it. After they've had their moment of truth, to where they've had their shit out, whatever. They've both put out their artistic genius. They've both been gunned down. They're dead. Whatever. And we know Jay-Z is on the horizon. But at that point, there's a void. And we've seen what happens to people who put out their truth. And then you have fucking people like Juvenile, whom I love. I love trashy hip-hop.
Right, and Juvenile, Ja Rule. I mean, like, there was a lot of trashy hip-hop in that era. But then you're right. You have people who come out and, like, fucking Eminem just comes out of nowhere.
Right.
Like, with, and his, I mean...
Bone Thugs and Harmony put out their truth.
Dude,
yes.
Fucking Bone Thugs.
Yes.
One of the most underrated hip-hop, like they're... Dude,
what
fucking Crossroads? Fucking, like, you put on Crossroads right now, and, like, don't do it. We're not singing on this podcast. But, like, we were playing poker one night in college, and we were like, dude, you know what one of the songs is that, like, would just, like brings brothers together? And, like, two of us all look up, two or three of us, and we all go, Bone Thugs, Crossroads, and we all went, bros. Like, right, like, it's just, it's such a good song. Like, Bone Thugs were so good. Like, it's such an interesting thing to look at the history of music.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things that bothers me today is that I'm so excited that older bands are continuing to do their thing. I was really excited for the Blink album. It's good, but it's not like... It doesn't feel like they progressed. It feels like they took...
There's only like 2 of the 3 returning, correct? That he lost the other singer. Is that right?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Straight up, I haven't even listened to it.
I haven't either.
It's good. It feels like their self-titled album, but it doesn't feel like... It feels like that, but...
It's usually
there's no Boxcar, there's no Angels and Airwaves. Like, it feels like Blink, but it doesn't feel like they really moved beyond that.
1 or 2 songs
But I actually liked Angels and Airwaves.
I did too. They were weird, but...
They were super weird, but like I kind of enjoyed that. Like because at that point in my life I had gotten past like fucking just screaming all the time.
Well, that's like with Linkin Park. Like there got to a point where I was like, listen, I get your fucking daddy issues. Jesus Christ,
it's like
beyond like
grace, dude.
Right, like there's only so much open D chords I can fucking take. Like, come on, guys, you can be a little more talented than that.
Yeah.
But again, bands that sort of listeners may not know this. You guys Tanner knows it, but I'm a huge fucking Dave Matthews fan. Like, dude, huge D&B fan in high school.
Right there with you.
Huge fan of their music. I love Stand Up, I Will Still Defend is not a bad album. It's a great album because goddamn Carter Beauford is the fucking shit on the drums. And that whole album is like Carter. Like, if you listen to it, it's all drum. But after that, like, their last album, not a fan of. Like, it's just all melancholy. It's all, like, and I get it. You're not 23 anymore, Dave. You're not answering these life questions. You got kids. You got a wife. You got all this stuff you're doing. Like, it doesn't. You're in a different place than where you were. And I think as an artist, that happens. You have to grow. You have to expand. You have to question new, different things. But I mean, I was a huge Dave fan. Like, if I go to a show, I don't want anything that isn't like busted stuff and later.
Yeah. I mean, dude, but like, I think that's like, that is the jam band fans' conundrum that they run into. And I will gladly ask Brandon Werner, our editor at Bro Bible, because like Brandon is a massive jam band.
Oh, he loves fish. I'm not a fish guy.
And like, I kind of am a fish guy. I got super into fish my freshman year of college, like, because I was smoking a lot of weed at the time, and like, like, that's just like the natural thing to do is you're getting into, like, you're smoking a lot of weed.
You smoke weed and listen to fish.
Right, but like,
I've never heard of them.
But like, that is why. That's totally.
I've never done it.
Yeah, which always blows my mind. But like,
let's change it.
I think as a fan of jam bands, that's like this natural evolution that you have. Like you look at as those bands try to evolve, and you're just like, guys, stay with me where we were whenever we were 19 or 21 or wherever you were.
Do you think Deadheads feel that way? I mean, because like Jerry Garcia's been dead like for a lot, but they continue to go. I mean, and Warren Haynes is oh my fucking god, that dude is so good at the guitar. Like,
yeah, but and look, they toured with John Mayer, but like, let's think about this. How much new music is Dead and Friends putting out whenever they tour?
They're not. They're not.
And so, actually, Brandon has to listen to this because I'm like just fucking Brandon so hard. Brandon put up this amazing quote that I saw, and it was in Bro Bible. And I owe attribution all to him for this. I don't know where he found it. But essentially, seeing a jam band is like going to a baseball game.
Yep.
Because one player can have an amazing game and the team still lose.
Yeah.
Or each player can play a mediocre game and the team still just put on an amazing performance.
Yeah.
And that is life of a jam band. And each time the performance is completely different. You don't know what you're going to get. And I think, like, that's why you're a fan of seeing jam bands. And that's why, like, I will anytime anybody's like, yo, Dave Matthews is in Atlanta, I'm happy.
Done. I'll go.
But if they say Dave Matthews put out a new album, I'm like,
because
just
I don't know.
He's here.
I'm assuming listeners don't know what is a jam band.
So a jam band is.
Don't look at me like that.
Yeah. Dude, I'm looking at myself like, how do I even describe this?
Well,
like,
so the best way to describe a jam band is, unlike, let's say, Metallica, who gets up and they play their song, and they're kind of done, like maybe you get a little drum solo at the end. A jam band will just continue playing the song and kind of sort of, like, their song might be 8-12 minutes long.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, it won't end at 4 minutes. Like, and they might jam into another little thing you've never heard and then go into another song. Like, they might only play 10 songs a night.
Right.
So what are some examples of Dave Matthews?
Dave Matthews, Fish, Grateful Dead, OAR.
OAR is a big one.
Dude. Oh my God.
Dispatch is a huge one.
And that's the one that everyone forgets because they were such a college rock band.
Yeah.
Which is funny because REM was included in college rock originally until they became alternative.
And you know where REM is from?
Fucking Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, Athens, but like.
I saw OAR randomly in Louisville here recently. I went there to see a girl who I didn't see, but I went there and I happened to see them. They are fucking good, dude.
Yeah.
I'd never fucking heard of them ever.
Yeah. I think that's really sort of at least the jam bands.
That's the big ones. I mean, look, it's important to realize that, like, when you go see a jam band, you might be there and you might watch this guitar player just fucking shred. And, like, it's important to realize, like, you're going to watch somebody in the state of flow, and that's beautiful. Like, it's beautiful to watch somebody in the state of flow, and you might watch him walk off stage for a second and come back with a fucking trumpet. The guitar player might come back out with something like a trumpet, and you're just completely mind blown for a second, and then until he adds the trumpet in to whatever they're working on at the moment, and they're working on this beautiful live piece right in front of you, and it's unlike anything else. And like jam bands, when done right, like in Dispatch's case, Dispatch, I think, like, has, outside of Fish, has probably, like, I would say Dispatch has gained more of a cult following than Dave. I mean, dude, Dispatch sold out a 100,000 person show for free.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Sold it out. But,
I agree with that. Well, and what's interesting is that, like, the last Dave show I went to was about 4 years ago, and even then, like, you still have guys showing up in their early 40s who put on, like, they're like, I'm a frat guy again. Like they that's it. They go to a Dave show because they get to ignite that sort of, thing they had when they were in college. I mean, and there are a ton of jam bands. Even old, like you mentioned, going out and playing a trumpet. Like every member of Old Crow Medicine Show plays like 3 different instruments.
And you know what? That's a great example of, like, so that jam bands do not have to be just a reggae / alternative band. Like
there's a ton of bluegrass jam bands.
Bluegrass.
So Edward Sharpe and Magnetic Zeros are a great example of an alternative jam band that takes pieces from bluegrass, blues, country, alternative, etc. Because you're literally talking about Edward Sharpe. He's literally a lead singer. That's it. He maybe plays the tambourine sometimes. And then he has 11 people in his band called the Zeros. And they'll fucking play a million instruments. And some of those instruments are solely just providing their voice. Yeah. They will look... There's this Pearl Jam song. I'm getting off on a super big tangent right now, so forgive me. But there's this Pearl Jam song called Yellow Ledbetter.
Fucking Yellow Ledbetter. So, oh, God.
Where Eddie Vedder.
Oh, it's so good.
Eddie Vedder gets after it.
Oh, he fucking rips it to shreds.
But you don't know what Eddie Vedder is saying for the most part. Like, you hear Eddie Vedder and you sing it, we all sing it in the car, and we're all like, yes, yes, we get it. But we don't know what he's saying. And the point is, because when Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam wrote that song, he wrote that so his voice would become another instrument.
Right.
He didn't want it to be something that, like, took away from the song. He just wanted his voice to be an instrument. And, like, jam bands will do that. Edward Sharpe will fucking do that. Like, Edward Sharpe is one of my favorite bands in the world. And, like, that dude, as crazy as he is, will add his voice solely as an instrument to a song. And I think that's a hallmark of a great jam band.
Well, and you get, like, using instruments, or using your voice as an instrument. Acapella?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Can we just for a minute talk about Carmen Sandiego?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where in the world is she?
Where in the world is she?
Yeah, but like those guys did that, and you have tons of acapella groups that do it all the time, where it's just their voice is they're the instruments. You've got a bass laying down a bass line, and he's using playing just boom, 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 and then people like, and that's what's so great is you can use that. People forget that your voice is an instrument as well. I don't want to. We're gonna. I want to try and keep us.
Yeah.
Your voice. Yeah. I want to try and keep us as much on time as possible. I think we all, us three, have a sort of pretty eclectic taste in music. What is the one band that, like, you absolutely could not live without for the rest of your life? It's a tough question.
Take it, Tanner.
The one band.
The one band you could not live with throughout. I will say it for myself. It was a band, like, when I think 90s rock and roll, I love Nirvana. I love Pearl Jam. I love all of the grunge. But for me, it's fucking STP.
Stone Temple Pilots.
Dude,
They're great.
There's just everything they put out. Like, if STP wasn't in the world,
So you love their catalog?
Oh, the whole everything.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay.
I mean, I'll let Velvet Revolver come in for a couple of things, but really,
But dude, I mean, because Slash with STP is like, that's really good.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's STP. I mean, I guess if I really, really, really had to dig deep and say it, I mean, you can't have rock and roll without Led Zeppelin. Like, you just can't have it. You can't have it. But for me, being a '90s guy, like, I fucking love STP.
Dude, like, you don't. Nobody has to, like, adhere to some, like, bullshit, like, historical rule, like,
no,
without the Beatles, who would have.
Well, yeah, but like the Beatles are like your mom. They influence everything.
Yeah, I actually literally every single cover that is done of the Beatles song, I probably like more than the Beatles original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking. Why am I forgetting his name? Did he just die recently? Joe.
Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan. Joe Cockner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cocker. Joe Cocker.
Yeah.
As much as I'm not a fan of the Wonder Years, his fucking cover.
I love the Wonder Years.
I'm not going there. I'm not going there.
When Baconti listens to this, Baconti will feel me. I love the Wonder Years.
I've never seen it, so fuck you both.
Oh my god.
Wait, how were you born in the 90s and grew up or born in the 80s and grew up in the early 90s and you've never seen the Wonder Years?
Because what year did that show end? Like 92? I was 2.
Oh.
I was
right.
Like born,
I forget.
I was born on 1990. November.
On 1990.
Yeah.
Exactly on 1990.
Yeah.
So you haven't answered the question. What is like the one band that like you could not live without?
It's like one of those like what exercise could you do if you do one exercise?
I know.
So it's like one of those. It's the hardest pick because you're never gonna like encompass all your needs. At first I kind of thought about Drake. I really like Drake as much as people shit on him. I think he's got the rap game on lock right now. But I think it's probably a day to remember, just because they're who resonate most with me.
Really?
Like from song to song. Yeah.
Day to remember.
I don't want to sound like a basic scene girl, alright? So
You're such a basic.
yeah, I get that a lot.
By the way, Nick's hair right now is pink.
Yeah, I got this winged dial on her going on. But no, like I think like from song to song, like they're the only ones who like consistently kind of hit it on the nail with me. I like a day to remember a lot.
All right. I mean, he is the president of the Paramore fan club, so.
Yeah, don't judge me. No,
Mine
her gap
is-
tooth.
Dude, shy.
It freaks me. I don't know what it is about gap teeth. I'm sorry.
I love me.
Gap
I
teeth
do
listeners.
love me some Paramore. I'm not gonna lie.
She's hot, but the gap tooth thing freaks me out. I can't get over it. Tanner, start talking so I forget about this.
Mine, dude, this is really hard for me. So like, when people ask me my favorite band, I like always punch them right in the face, and
It hurts.
Because it's hard to be honest. I don't know how to answer that question.
I punch them right in the face, and I always tell them I can never tell you my favorite band, but I can give you a top 3, and two constants out of my top 3 will always be the Red Hot Chili Peppers and the Eagles.
Ooh,
All right.
Old school.
And then I will add in like a third depending on my mood that day. So like my third, almost always, like if I'm feeling rap that day, is like UGK, which is so Texan of me. But one band I could not live without would probably have to be the Chili Peppers.
All right, that new album is the shit.
That new album, I
good.
love that new album. I really love that new album. But like, not to mention, like, I can just go back and listen to that catalog.
Oh, dude.
Forever. I can go back and listen to that catalog. I can go back and find B-sides. I can go back and read books by Anthony Kiedis. Like, that is really important to me, to be able to, like, experience that. And And I could do that with the Eagles. I love the Eagles. Seriously, if we're in a different mood tonight and I'm not, I haven't been drinking quite as much, I might choose the Eagles.
Dude, the Eagles, I grew up on classic rock and country.
Yeah.
And for me,
that's
the Eagles,
like the Eagles.
But that is the Eagles. The Eagles are classic rock and country.
Yeah.
Plus the... Anyways.
Plus, it's amazing to think that, their, power horse of a lead singer, Don Henley. So, you've got Glenn Frey, who's this amazing vocalist, and easy there. And Glenn Frey is just, this badass of a vocalist. And he legitimately, at one point, turns over the reins to Don Henley and says, "You're better than I am. And we know that our songs are going to be better whenever you're the lead vocalist." Here's the crazy thing about that. Don Henley is a fucking drummer. At the time, Phil Collins wasn't big yet. Was... Steven Tyler had given up the drums. That wasn't a thing. That was not one of those things that you're like, okay, cool, it's doable. It's one of those things that you're like, guys, this might be career suicide.
Well, and then look at years later, a band whose first album, their drummer was their lead singer, and their first album, still in my opinion, is fucking amazing. 3 Doors Down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he moved away.
Absolutely.
But again, if you look at the Foo Fighters, who did the drums for that whole first album?
He actually wrote every instrument.
Every instrument. Because I will say this until the day I die. Dave Grohl is the Jesus Christ of rock and roll music. He is the Messiah. Every time rock and roll, I think, is dead, the fucking Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl comes back.
Guys, I got you.
Yeah, either with the Foo or them Crooked Vultures.
Yeah.
Dave Grohl he saves my rock and roll soul. I fucking love everything they do. And I think that's one of those bands where I'm like,
3 Doors Down? Is that your
No, the Foo Fighters. I love the Foo, but I don't know. When I think 90s, it's always SDP, and that's for me. All right.
Can I ask?
Go ahead.
Okay, can I ask one? Was that the final question?
No.
Okay, so if MySpace was still a thing, and you had to pick one song to leave as your profile song before you kicked the bucket, before you died, what would that one song be?
Peaceful Easy Feeling by the Eagles.
What was it?
Peaceful Easy Feeling by the Eagles.
Ooh.
I like it. Oh, fuck.
Shit. Actually, maybe Purple Rain, because he's about to play that. We haven't talked about Prince at all, and
we did at the beginning.
We did at the beginning, obviously, but Prince is he alternates into that top 3 really often. Just not as often as I'd like, because he's a douchebag whenever it comes to me being able to find his music. So,
yeah, because I don't want to pay for Tidal. It's not. It's not that great.
I used up my free trial.
It was good to go.
Yeah.
What would you? Because I don't know.
So, if I didn't know I was about to die, it'd be You Should Have Killed Me When You Had the Chance, but I did remember, because I got a whole true go. Now, if I knew I was going to die, and I was planning ahead, it'd probably be about 7 Years by Lucas Graham. He kind of sums up a life in that song, which you guys have to listen to that for it to make sense. So,
okay.
What are you thinking, Rob?
I said this earlier today too.
No.
I actually I was listening to some music earlier today and it made me think of this. I think really what it would be it would be Number 41 by Dave Matthews Band.
No, really?
Yeah, Number 41 is my favorite Dave song. When I have a shitty day and need to meditate myself out of some funk, that's what I put on as Number 41. But I will say this, and I sent this text to my wife earlier today, and I thought it was pretty hilarious. But I was listening to Freebird, and it came on as I was working and doing some stuff.
Did you tweet this earlier?
No, I didn't. Yeah. I didn't tweet this.
Okay.
But Freebird just that solo sort of has this if you could for a minute just like make yourself a light beam and travel through the universe, like that's just how it kind of feels.
So you want to know something?
And I was like,
go ahead.
I was like, all I want in life is to have one orgasm that feels like I'm riding a beam of light in the universe while Freebird blares all around me. So if I were going to die, my spirit were going to go in the universe, I want Freebird in that solo to play as I do that.
I want you to meet my dad because, like, it's my dad's dying wish. And my dad is, like, my best friend in the world that, like, at his funeral, I will play Freebird.
Dude, I was at
all 13 minutes and 40 seconds of it.
I was at Louder Than Life last year in Louisville, Kentucky. And I was 15 feet from them as they sung that song. And it was the most orgasmic moment of my life.
It's such a great solo and such a great song. Funny enough, my dad actually asked me to play Simple Man at his funeral.
Really? Dude,
yeah.
We just bonded so hard over that.
My dad was like, you have to play Simple Man at my funeral.
That's actually a great song to have at a funeral.
Yeah, it's a great song. All right, so as we wrap up, I don't even know what the time is because we've been drinking and eating cinnamon buns.
It's 11:30.
What? Now mine is a little different. I'm gonna go there, but what is the one musical lyric that you've always felt is the most powerful in your life, or your favorite of all time? I'll start off since you guys got to think about it a little bit. I was in high school. Got into emo music from a friend of mine and fell in love with like all of those bands. Brand New, Taking Back Sunday, The Used, Saves the Day. You get into even some more like screamo stuff with like From Autumn to Ashes, Norma Jean, all of that genre that came out at that time. I was really into. But being the hopeless romantic that I was, I wanted to find a woman that I could love and that would love me and do, you know, all that high school shit that you go through. And the lyric that still to me today feels like it's saying I love you at a level you can never ever really truly understand unless you're in that moment. Is Taking Back Sunday from their song You're So Last Summer.
Oh my god.
The truth is,
this is the best. This is, before he begins, this is not only the best emo lyric of all time, this might be the best lyric of all time.
Which is why I love Tanner even more right now. I actually may have started a sort of sexual relationship with a girl in college due to this lyric, and us agreed on that. So,
and I actually
the truth is, I would never lie to you. Unless I had to, I'll do what I got to.
Yes, there you go.
Unless I had to, I'll do what I got to. If you were to slit my throat with my one last dying breath, I'd apologize for bleeding on your shirt. Like, to me, I always felt like that was a guy just like, I love you so much. You could do the most fucked up thing to me in the world, and I would still, with my dying breath, tell you I'm sorry and that I love you. Like, I don't even know. It stuck out to me, and it's still to me like my favorite lyric of all time.
Dude, that lyric, I remember it was 2006 whenever I first heard that lyric. And I remember just being like, fuck, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Will I ever love someone that much that like, yeah. Yeah.
Nick?
God, dude, no. I feel like I'm an emotional dude on social media, so I post lyrics a lot. But now that I'm like on the spot, it's really hard for me to think of a lyric. Even though I feel like if I had like time to research this shit, I'd know.
Well, it's all right. I just forgot my favorite lyric because I've had too much Tito's.
The one song that resonates deepest with me, like really makes me feel shit, is That Feeling by We the Kings.
Okay.
And you'd have to listen to it. But pretty much he just kind of talks about the duality of a relationship, right? So just you being fucked up in your head, you meeting someone, and all of a sudden that chaos you felt, all of a sudden clearing up. So listen to that.
All right.
That Feeling by We the Kings. Can't give you a lyric. That's the best I can give you.
All right. Be in the show notes, psyquestfitness.com/music. I'll have all of these headed to YouTube to show you those songs as well. Tanner? I know we both love that Taking Back Sunday lyric.
I love that Taking Back Sunday lyric. There are actually a couple of Prince lyrics that I love from Purple Rain. And I'm plugging just people after people in this episode, so they'll just have to deal with it. But Roman kind of nailed who I am while we were in New York. Whenever he said fairly libidinous, and that is who I am. And there's an Eagles lyric that speaks to that, where Glenn Fry is singing, and he it's in Taking It Easy, and that's like, I already at a moment's notice just mentioned that song earlier, and I pulled it up just so that way I wouldn't screw it up, even though I know this shit by heart because I can sing that song every single day. Where is it? So he's, just to set the stage, Glenn Fry is in Winslow, Arizona.
Right.
Okay. He's in Winslow, Arizona, which I would imagine has to be the middle of nowhere. Okay?
I would assume.
And by the way, he's standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona, and it's such a fine sight to see, just so you know.
There's a girl, my lord.
It's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford,
slowing down
to take a look at me. You're right. And basically, she says, Glenn says, "Come on, baby, don't say maybe. I gotta know if your sweet love is gonna sway me." And that's kind of like, I don't know, man. It's wrong. It's totally terrible. But like, that speaks to me. If I were to say another, it would be an Eagles lyric, and he's basically been searching for the daughter of an angel, but he's found the devil, and he just wants the mix between the two. So like, the Eagles get me whenever it comes to that regard, whenever it comes to my fairly libidinous nature. So like, they speak to me.
I do love me some Eagles. All right, so we've spoken a lot about music. We've been rambling a little bit. So 2 or 3 bands that you would leave listeners with to go check out right now. I think we all would agree, if you don't know Explosions in the Sky,
yes.
Right now, Explosions in the Sky. Check it out. There's no lyrics, all musical. Get in a hot Epsom salt bath. Do some libidinous things. And enjoy that time. By yourself.
Ideally, yeah.
But I think that is one band we would all agree on. But I'm going to throw out a couple. I'm going to go a little old school emo here. A gentleman or band you may all not know. But lyrically beautiful, musically so fucking amazing. Go check out Pedro the Lion.
Okay.
Okay. A little unknown in that era. Underground-ish, but just musically and lyrically amazing. Pedro the Lion. I'm also going to say, if you have not listened, just because I'm on the kick right now, I fucking love this new Avett Brothers album. Go listen to their whole catalog. Guys that are just raw and emotional and leave their folk rock, but they leave so much of their heart in their lyrics. Go listen to them and the stories that they tell. They're fantastic. And that's the 2 I can sort of think of right now. Oh, the third one I would also tell you, they have 2 albums out now, Catfish and The Bottlemen. If you've not heard Catfish and The Bottlemen, go check them out. You have to get them on iTunes because they're not, only 1 album's on Spotify. But I mean, just some really great rock and roll music. Because I do feel, like I said, every couple of years, I feel like rock sort of dies and gets stagnant. But these guys have sort of brought it back, and hopefully they don't go the route of Muse and sell out and start doing dubstep.
I know, but I do love some Muse songs. Like, they're so good.
Yeah, all right.
They're so good.
Nick.
So rather than talk about the bands I've already talked about, if you're into rap, there's a guy that just came out of Louisville. His name's Bryson Tiller. Drake tried to sign him to his label, couldn't do it. His name's Bryson Tiller. He has a bunch of really, really good rap, if you're into that kind of stuff. And he raps Louisville, so I gotta kind of talk about him. If you're into your feels, there's a band called He Is We. You guys heard of him or heard of them?
No, I've not.
It's actually a female singer. So if you're in your feels, He Is We is really, really, really good. And a band that I've been listening to a lot lately is called The Cab. Have you heard of them? No?
No.
So they're called The Cab. I really like their song called Bad. They're kind of, I don't know, alternative-ish. So The Cab, Bryson Tiller, and He Is We. It's good shit.
Tanner?
We got Tanner.
I've been super into Portugal the Man.
All right.
Lately. Which if you've actually seen like a few Taco Bell commercials or whatever, you've heard Portugal, period, the Man. Which they're great. I love Portugal the Man. They're fantastic. I've also been really into Glass Animals, which is kind of like an electronic indie rock band. They're fantastic. They're really trippy. They're super strange, and that just makes them even better to me. But like, if you're not looking for like modern day stuff, then if you haven't gone through the Stevie Ray Vaughan catalog, go through the SRV catalog, and if you've already done that, then go through the JJ Grey and Mofro catalog. JJ Grey and Mofro. It's a band I've seen like 5 times live. They're really bluesy. They're really bluegrassy. They are everything that speaks to my soul, and they are the greatest. And there's a certain song called Wakalusa that I listen to every single time I need to get recalibrated with the world. And I think that everybody should listen to them. So do that.
Awesome. Well, all those links for all those guys on, I'll make sure we link to their YouTube page. So again, sidequestfitness.com/music. Get all those links over there. We've had a good time taking a little break from talking fitness or mental health or whatever sort of health things. Last month we talked, sort of getting outside and fun summer stuff. But music is something that all 3 of us really wanted to talk about. We could continue talking for another hour on stuff. I mean, Prince, Purple Rain is still playing. Really, you should just go listen to Prince all night, in my opinion.
Yes, absolutely.
But the great thing about today is the bands we told you about. You can find other bands that are similar via Spotify. Go find their related artist, eat it up, and just spend like the next 6 months just really exploring and finding awesome things, because music is the soundtrack to our lives. It helps us in the gym. It can help us be more creative. But it's vitally important to a lot of the things that we do. So, guys, thank you for enjoying this episode. If you have any questions or want to know more, check us all out on Facebook, SideQuest Fitness, Robbie Farlow, Tanner Baze, Nick Sorrell. Find us on Twitter as well, and ask us. We'll talk to you about bands and whatnot. We didn't really go into metal. We didn't really go too deep into hip hop. There was so much stuff we could go into. If you guys enjoy this, let us know. Maybe we'll do another episode and go even deeper.
I'd be happy to.
Step up and you gotta get it fitness. Host Rob at the moment and the quest is you gotta check it and wreck it. You're breaking personal records, and with the help of the guest you won't be guessing on the lessons. That's a +5 fierce. Got a low-key band right here. You wanna meet him, there's no better way to greet him than to strike a boss pose. Take a look into the mirror.